Um, Good morning, everyone who's present for our meeting today. This is the meeting, today is Friday, June 6, 2025, and it's approximately 10:05 Central Standard Time. All of our meetings will have to be recorded and are housed on the Tennessee Coalition's YouTube page. We welcome everyone to the quarterly meeting of the Domestic Violence State Coordinating Council, which is open to the public. We especially welcome any guests who have joined us this morning, and there are several who have placed their information in the chat section. And so we welcome each of you this morning and appreciate you being here. Secretary Fox, would you please call the roll? And for each member who is present, if you would please unmute and let her know that you are present by saying here or present.
Yes, ma'am. Again, good morning, everyone. Madam Chair, we do have several members who have advised that they will not be here. That is Councilmember Blackshear, Councilmember Sarah Davis, Councilmember Reynolds, and Councilmember Scott. Those have advised that they will not be with us on this morning. So here's the official roll call. Vice Chair Bean.
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember Castillo Young.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Curtis.
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember Dorisha Davis.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Frog.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Jones. Councilmember Sue Jones. Councilmember Littleton.
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember McDevitt. Councilmember Regina McDevitt. Councilmember McMillan.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Miller.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Neff. Councilmember Katie Neff.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Parker.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Reeves.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Russell. Councilmember Ray Russell. Councilmember Tate.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Van. Councilmember Bobby Van. Councilmember Vess. Councilmember Felix Vess.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Wally. Councilmember Paige Wally. Madam Chair, including myself, that concludes the roll call for today's meeting, Friday, June 6th, 2025.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Do we have a quorum?
Yes, ma'am, we do have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. The first order of business that we have on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from our March 13th, 2025 meeting. The minutes from the last meeting were sent by Secretary Fox on May the 23rd of 2005 via email. Are there any corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, seeing none. If there are no corrections, the minutes are approved as distributed. And we'll move to the nominating executive committee report, which will be conducted by myself as vice chair. The members of the executive committee met Thursday, May 22nd, 2025 at 1:30 p.m. and discussed the executive committee nominating elections. The current executive committee agreed to remain in their current positions. However, I was nominated as chair. Katie Neff agreed to serve as vice chair. Felix Ness was nominated as assistant secretary in the treasurer position. However, it's my understanding that Ms. Neff has decided to take a different position and has resigned from the Attorney General's office, and as of June 30th, 2025, will not be in a position to serve as vice chair for which she is nominated. Secretary, did you receive any other nominations or did you receive any other nominations
Yes,
other than
ma'am,
those
I
that?
did. Yes, ma'am, I did. This morning I did receive a nomination from Judge Jenny Scott. She wants to be nominated as the vice chair,
Awesome. Okay, great. Are there any nominations from the floor? If there are no nominations from the floor, I would request a motion to approve the following slate of officers for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. Chair Melanie Bean, Vice Chair Judge Scott, Secretary Treasurer Tina Fox, and Assistant Secretary Treasurer Felix Van Ness. Is there a motion from the floor?
This is Stacy Miller, and I make that motion.
Thank you, Stacy. Any second?
This is Lena Frog, and I'll make a second.
All right, the motions have properly been made and properly seconded. All those in favor? All right, any discussion? Well, first let me ask, is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, seeing none. All those in favor? Anyone
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposition? No opposition, the motion carries. And so for the 2025-2026 fiscal year, the slate of officers as previously identified will be adopted. Number two next on our agenda is committee reports. And first we would have the certification and monitoring updates, and I'll defer to Stacy Miller so that she can provide a full report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will preface the council to let you know that we have a long list of programs to look at today, and I know that there's some other matters that the council needs to discuss. So I would like to go through these quickly so that we can get through these. First of all, I just wanted to say that we have 24 certified batterer intervention programs in Tennessee that serve 62 counties. We have 5 programs that have submitted for recertification, 3 programs that have submitted for certification, and these are all new programs. And so we're really excited to see the growth when it comes to our programs. The first program that I would like to discuss is Help Recovery Centers in Christiana, serving Bedford, Davison, and Rutherford counties. They have applied for initial certification and submitted materials, including their payment of $200. After discussion, the committee agreed that we recommend to Help Recovery Centers for their initial certification, and we would like a motion to approve so.
This is Kendra Reeves. I make that motion.
Second by Melanie.
Madam Chair, do you want the individual roll call on this?
That's
program?
correct. That's correct. We do roll call, don't we, Tina?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Would you please call the roll then?
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Bean,
Aye.
Councilmember Castillo Young.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Curtis.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Dorisha Davis.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Frog.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Littleton.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember McMillan.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Miller.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Neff.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Parker.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Tate.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Vess.
Aye.
Thank you. And I believe Councilmember Sue Jones has joined us. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, I was late. I'm sorry.
All right. Councilmember Jones.
Present.
Madam Chair, that concludes the nomination for, not nomination, the certification for that particular program.
All right, motion carries. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Stacy?
Thank you, Ms. Fox. Our next program that is up for certification, this is their initial certification. This is 180 Red Ink in Clarksville, serving Montgomery and Davison counties. They have applied for initial certification and submitted all their necessary materials, including their $200 payment. After discussion today, the committee agreed to recommend 180 Red Inc. for initial certification, and we are requesting a motion to do so.
I move for 180 Red Inc. to be certified.
Second. Judge McMillan.
All right, we have a motion and a proper second. Any discussion on the motion? Madam Secretary, would you call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Bean,
Aye.
Councilmember Castillo Young,
Aye.
Councilmember Curtis,
Aye.
Councilmember Derisha Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Frog,
Aye.
Councilmember Jones,
Aye.
Councilmember Littleton.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember McMillan.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Miller.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Neff.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Parker.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Tate.
Aye.
Councilmember Vess.
Aye.
Thank you. Madam
Motion
Chair.
carries.
Yes.
Motion carries. Ms. Miller, if you could continue.
Our third and final program for initial certification. Again, this is a new program. This is Family Counseling Center of Middle Tennessee in Manchester, serving in Coffee County. They have applied for initial certification, submitted all necessary materials, including their $200 payment. And after discussion, the committee agreed to recommend Family Counseling Center of Middle Tennessee for initial certification, and we are requesting a motion to do so.
This is Kendra Reeves. I make that motion.
And this is Lena, and I'll second.
We have a motion and a proper second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Bean.
Aye.
Councilmember Castillo Young.
Aye.
Councilmember Curtis.
Aye.
Councilmember Derisha Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Frog.
Aye.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Councilmember Littleton.
Aye.
Councilmember McMillan.
Aye.
Councilmember Miller.
Aye.
Councilmember Neff.
Aye.
Councilmember Parker.
Aye.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Tate.
Aye.
Councilmember Vess.
Aye.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Based upon the vote, the motion carries. Ms. Miller. Stacy, you are muted.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
are moving to our recertification programs. We have 5 programs to recertify, starting with Blount County Probation in Maryville, serving Blount County. They have submitted all necessary documents, including a $200 payment for recertification. The committee has reviewed their paperwork and discussed their program. The program was monitored by Ms. Tina Fox on April 9th, 2025. And after discussion, the committee has agreed to recommend Blount County Probation for recertification, and we are requesting a motion to do so.
This is Lena Frog, and I make that motion.
Greg McMillan, I'll second.
We have a proper motion and a proper second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Secretary Fox, would you call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Bean.
Aye.
Councilmember Castillo Young.
Aye.
Councilmember Curtis.
Aye.
Councilmember Derisha Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Frog.
Aye.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Councilmember Littleton.
Aye.
Councilmember McMillan.
Aye.
Councilmember Miller.
Aye.
Councilmember Neff.
Aye.
Councilmember Parker.
Aye.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Tate.
Aye.
Councilmember Vess.
Aye.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Secretary Fox. The motion carries based upon the vote. Ms. Miller, if you would proceed.
The next program is the Great Smokies Community Class in Sevierville, serving Sevier County. They have submitted all necessary documents, including a $200 payment for recertification. The committee reviewed their paperwork and discussed the program. The program was monitored by Tina Fox on April 9th, and after discussion, the committee agreed to recommend Great Smoky Community Class for recertification, and we are requesting a motion to do so.
This is Lena, and I make that motion.
This is Melanie. I'll second. We have a motion that's on the floor and properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Thank you. Councilmember Bean.
Aye.
Councilmember Castillo Young.
Aye.
Councilmember Curtis.
Aye.
Councilmember Derisha Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Frog.
Aye.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Councilmember Littleton.
Aye.
Councilmember McMillan.
Aye.
Councilmember Miller.
Aye.
Councilmember Neff.
Aye.
Councilmember Parker.
Aye.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Tate.
Aye.
Councilmember Vest.
Aye.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Based upon the vote, the motion carries. Ms. Miller, would you continue?
Healing Through Education in Franklin, serving Hickman, Lewis, Marshall, Perry, and Williamson counties, have also submitted all their necessary documents, including their $200 payment for recertification. The committee reviewed their paperwork and discussed. After discussion, the committee agreed to recommend Healing Through Education for recertification, and we are requesting a motion to do so.
This is Lena, and I make that motion.
Melanie, and I'll second. We have a motion and a proper second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Councilmember Bean.
Aye.
Councilmember Castillo Young.
Aye.
Councilmember Curtis.
Aye.
Councilmember Derisha Davis.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Frog.
Aye.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Councilmember Littleton.
Aye.
Councilmember McMillan.
Aye.
Councilmember Miller.
Aye.
Councilmember Neff.
Aye.
Councilmember Parker.
Aye.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Tate.
Aye.
Councilmember Vest.
Aye.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Based upon the vote, motion carries. Ms. Miller, could you proceed?
Main Street Interventions Incorporated in Dixon, serving Cheatham and Dixon counties, has submitted necessary documents, including their $200 payment for full recertification. The committee reviewed the paperwork and discussed. The program was virtually monitored by Tina Fox and Stacy Miller on May 4th, 2025. After discussion, the committee has agreed to recommend Main Street Intervention for recertification, and we are requesting a motion to do so.
This is Lena, and I make that motion.
Second by Greg McMillan.
We have a motion and a proper second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Councilmember Bean.
Aye.
Councilmember Castillo Young.
Aye.
Councilmember Curtis.
Aye.
Councilmember Derisha Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Frog.
Aye.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Councilmember Littleton.
Aye.
Councilmember McMillan.
Aye.
Councilmember Miller.
Aye.
Councilmember Neff.
Aye.
Councilmember Parker.
Aye.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Tate.
Aye.
Councilmember Vest.
Aye.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Secretary, based upon the roll call vote, the motion carries. Ms. Miller?
Our final program for recertification would be Solutions Education Center in Murfreesboro, serving Bedford, Coffee, Franklin, Rutherford, and Warren counties. They've submitted all necessary documents, including a $200 payment for full recertification. The committee has reviewed the paperwork and discussed their program. The program was virtually monitored by Tina Fox and Greg McMillan on May 13th, 2025. And after discussion, the committee agreed to recommend Solutions Education Center for recertification, and we are requesting a motion to do so.
This is Lena, and I make that motion.
I'll second Greg McMillan.
We have a proper motion and a second on, we have a motion and a proper second on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, seeing none, I'd ask Madam Secretary to please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilmember Bean,
Aye.
Councilmember Castillo Young,
Aye.
Councilmember Curtis,
Aye.
Councilmember Derisha Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Frog,
Aye.
Councilmember Jones,
Aye.
Councilmember Littleton, Councilmember Littleton,
Aye.
thank you. Councilmember McMillan,
Aye.
Councilmember Miller,
Aye.
Councilmember Neff,
Aye.
Councilmember Parker,
Aye.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Tate,
Aye.
Councilmember Vest.
Aye.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to say that I agree with all of those as well.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Based upon the vote, the motion carries. Ms. Miller, would you continue with the report?
Yes, we have one program that is not here for certification. It is a program BIP at Successful Survivor in Nashville. They serve Davidson County portions of, they serve Davidson County. Portions of their recertification paperwork have been submitted, but not all to date. They have submitted their $200 for recertification. The program director has given a 3-month extension for a total of 6 months extension for them to get the necessary documents in place and to be compliant with the certification procedures, and they have still yet to do so. At our last meeting, we gave them a 3-month extension with the understanding that they would have all their necessary paperwork to Ms. Fox no later than April 15th. You can see here that that was the letter that was sent to them as well, and they have still yet to submit the necessary paperwork that is required for recertification. At this time, due to the fact that their program actually would have expired in December of 2024, and they have been given 2 3-month extensions and still have not complied, the committee has discussed this program, and we are recommending that that program be decertified, and we are requesting a motion to do so.
I make that motion to decertify. Chelsea Curtis.
I'll second Greg McMillan.
We have a motion on the floor and a proper second. Any further discussion on this motion to decertify? Hearing none, seeing none. Secretary Fox, would you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Councilmember Bean,
Aye.
Councilmember Castillo Young,
Aye.
Councilmember Curtis,
Aye.
Councilmember Derisha Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Frog,
Aye.
Councilmember Jones,
Aye.
Councilmember Littleton,
Aye.
Councilmember McMillan,
Aye.
Councilmember Miller,
Aye.
Councilmember Neff,
Aye.
Councilmember Parker,
Aye.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Tate,
Aye.
Councilmember Vest,
Aye.
Councilmember Fox. Aye. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Secretary, based upon the vote from the roll call, the motion carries. Ms. Miller, would you please continue with the full report?
Yes. And lastly, as part of our committee report, I'd like to leave on a positive, good note, and that is discussing our BIPS Professional Development Summit. The BIPS Professional Development Summit was held Friday, May 16th from 8 to 4:30 in Nashville at the Office of Family Safety. We definitely want to thank the Office of Family Safety for being generous and allowing us to use their space. The theme was Striving for Excellence, Tennessee Batterer Intervention Programs with the focus on program integrity. There were 51 in attendance, and that's the largest attendance that we have had to date for our summit. And we had 6 presenters, including a keynote. I do want to give special accolades to Miss Tina Fox. She did a phenomenal job of organizing this conference. She pours herself into this yearly, and we see the fruits of what is growing out of our BIP programs. The accountability for not just the offenders, but the programs have increased dramatically. We have just seen so much progress just in the last year of what is coming from our BIP programs. We always have the component that says that BIPs are not a part of victim safety. However, I always like to challenge that, because if we're truly looking out for victims, we want to look at every avenue in which we can do that through. And holding offenders accountable is definitely, especially when so many of our survivors stay in those relationships. It's very important that we really look at that offender piece, and anywhere we can hold them accountable, we do so. And so that increased performance of holding programs accountable will help also hold those offenders accountable. And Ms. Fox just did an excellent job at our BIP Summit. We had Brandy Daly from the Arkansas Coalition come and do 2 sessions with us. Just a remarkable presenter, remarkable job, brought new information, new insights, new trends. Just a great speaker overall. There were no complaints. The reviews were extremely positive. Most everybody said that this was the best conference yet. So I want to thank everybody on the conference, on the council, for all that you do to support Ms. Fox and Jennifer Eskew and the coalition to do the work that they do. It definitely is not going unnoticed. And so we just had a great, excellent summit. And again, I just want to give those accolades to Ms. Fox for all she did to make that happen. And with that, Madam Chair, that is all I have for this committee meeting.
Thank you, Stacy, for your report, and to your committee for the work that's being done on victim safety and offender accountability. Does anyone have any additional questions for the committee or Ms. Miller? Seeing none or hearing none, the Emerging Issues and Orders of Protection Committee also met this morning in a separate Zoom meeting. A written report was included in the materials that was circulated by Secretary Fox. And I would now ask for Chair Michelle Consiglio-Young to provide the full report for the Emerging Issues and Orders of Protection Committee.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Michelle, and our committee met this morning at 9. We had a couple of preliminary issues to deal with and then another issue to discuss. First, we had 4 forms that we looked at. The bail order form for abuse cases, which requires an update that we had approved in December of 2024, but we held off on updating that form to make sure that nothing else changed during the legislative session, and it did not. So we will issue an updated bail order form for abuse cases for July 1, 2025. We also have a technical update, thanks to Judge McMillan, on the motion to modify and extend the order extending the order of protection until hearing. That's also on that form. There was just a citation reference that had changed since that form was created. It referenced TCA 36.3.627, which no longer addresses that motion to modify. And we updated that to TCA 36.3.621. So that will be added. That was just a technical change. Also, there were 2 other pieces of legislation that passed this year. One, public chapter 462, which allows criminal courts, in addition to circuit courts, to issue a lifetime order of protection upon conviction. Upon looking at the lifetime order protection forms, it does not appear that we need to make any changes to reflect that addition of allowing criminal courts to issue those lifetime OPs. We at the AOC are just going to double check that once again, but right now we do not believe that that form needs any update. And the same, kind of along the same vein, now public chapter 246, which was effective April 14th, likewise allows criminal courts to issue orders of protection for domestic abuse, sexual assault, or stalking victims. So now, in addition to the circuit courts, civil courts, the criminal courts could also issue that. So again, on the current OP form, it doesn't appear that we need to make any changes to reflect that. So those were the form discussions that we had, fairly simple. The larger discussion that we had that was very detailed and in depth is a matter that obviously this council has talked about several times, and that's adding third-party information to the affidavit of firearm dispossession form. If you all recall, back at the March meeting, the large committee referred that matter to our Emerging Issues and Order Protection Committee for discussion and on how to amend that form, if amending at all. And we talked about that, and there was a differences of thought and process on that at this point. So we as a committee have agreed to continue to look at that, to engage the various stakeholders, specifically the DA's conference, the judges, the law enforcement, Sheriff's Association, and chiefs of police, and others, just to really get a better idea and feel for how exactly that form could be effective and also enforceable. So rather than us suggesting any form changes to this larger committee right now, we're going to continue to look at that over the next several months, and just as when we meet in September, we will have an update on kind of where we are and what we discussions have been had, and the same with the December meeting. We also discussed the fact that there is pending legislation dealing with that issue, that the legislature did defer to, at least in the House, did defer to the first calendar of January 2026 in the Civil Justice Subcommittee. So that was also taken into consideration. But at this point, we just did not have a unified consensus on how to amend that form, and we're going to continue to work on it. We'll have another update on it in September, but that is where our committee landed at this point. So, and that's the main update that I have for our committee.
Thank you, Michelle, for your report and for the committee, and to your committee for the work that's being done on emerging issues and orders of protection. Does anyone have any questions for the committee? Okay, hearing none, seeing none, we'll now hear from the training and education co-chairs. That is Ileana Tate and Ashley Payne.
Hi, good morning, all. I will go ahead and just go over the Training and Education Committee report. I hope you all can see that on the screen. The report is for today, June 6th. So from March to June 4th, we had over 600 attendees for various trainings, including the Tennessee Judicial Commissioners Conference in April. This also includes in-service hours that were completed in May and June. Are there any questions or suggestions about the training report? Okay, that's all I have.
All right, if there's no questions for the committee, we want to thank Ileana for her report and for the committee and what they're doing for training and education. 600 attendees, that sounds great. Okay, so the next we have is the Standards and Rules Committee, Chair Sarah Davis. The Standards and Rules Committee met April 16th, 2025 via Zoom. We will now hear from Stacy Miller, who serves on the Standards and Rules Committee, as Sarah could not be here today. Stacy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. These rules have been disseminated to you earlier by Ms. Fox, and you've all had plenty of time to review, suggest edits, and again, critique any of the changes before this meeting. So I'd like to start by asking if anybody has any particular questions that we can start with. If there's no questions, I just want to highlight some of those changes for record, since this meeting is being recorded, and for our guests that are here today. There are 30 pages of rules of the Domestic Violence State Coordinating Council, and so I certainly don't want to go through every change that was made. Those will be posted online for review at later time, or you may contact Ms. Fox or myself. We'll be more than happy to assist you with those. But I do just want to touch on some highlights and some major changes that was implemented. First and foremost, we just did some updated grammatical corrections, and then just made the language more conducive to the services that we provide as far as our pronouns. On page 3, there is under ethical standards. One of the things that we included was the addition of an emergency response and an exit plan designed to prevent and address potential safety risks during classes. Under batter accountability on page 7, we added that state agencies or nonprofit organizations are now permitted to pay program fees for applicable batters. We had spoken with DCS and they wanted to order batter intervention. However, the standards currently stated that only offenders could do so, and under DCS guidelines, that if they order it, they must pay for it. And so they would not order batter intervention because they couldn't pay for it. So we have added that stipulation in there now so that hopefully DCS can now order batter intervention as part of juvenile court cases and other cases in which they're involved in, so that we can again be more accountable and holistic in those offenders that we're reaching. If we continue on through to page 12, under the discharge criteria, we have always had that stated inside of our program that we were not to give certificates of achievement. We have added specific wording for certified programs. They may issue those certificates upon completion, but they may only use the following language: that he or she has completed the minimum requirements. That way, we just wanted to be a little bit more intensive and intentional in stating that there was no way that we wanted to give false hope to survivors, that those certificates meant that they had changed. We wanted to be very specific and mindful of the limits of what these programs can do. And so they must only use the wording, they have completed the minimum requirements. Under curriculum on page 14, we have added new language to address programs that are facilitating classes to non-traditional participants. And that is just to make sure that the program is trained and educated thoroughly and show knowledge that they can actually provide those programs to those non-traditional participants. Under section A, there are 6, under section B, there are 6 programs that are currently approved by the council to use. All other programs that are used outside these 6 must step by step align the curriculum that they are wanting to use or intend to use to the standards to show that they meet the criteria of what the standards state. But those 6 programs that have already been approved were A Call to Men, CCI Bringing Peace to Relationships, Duluth, Emerge, and Men Stopping Violence. This year we have added the Family Peace Initiative, the River of Cruelty. It is a trauma evidence-based curriculum out of Kansas, and we have heard from them several times through the Family Justice Conference and different trainings and the National Council. That is a very powerful curriculum, and we're excited to add them to that list of approved curriculums. Do we have any questions so far that I need to address? Number 4, we amended and added the section under a certified program curriculum shall require the batterer to complete a written responsibility plan designed to facilitate the safety of the batterer's victim and current partner. We want that, again, to be a little bit more thorough than what had prior been there. And so we just tightened that up a little bit more and want to make sure that we have that lined up. We have updated the security on facilitators by requiring FBI background checks for all facilitators and any persons that could possibly have ever been charged with a domestic related offense. And we have also increased the fees on certification and recertification. And lastly, we have added investigation department, investigation section. We really wanted to be a little bit more accountable for ourselves as well as for these programs when complaints are filed. So on page 29, we have included a more in-depth investigation process for programs that would have a complaint filed against them. Madam Chair, if there's no other questions, that would conclude my report back on the standards. And at this point, we are asking that those be adopted. by the council.
I did have one quick question, just a point of clarification. You mentioned some changes regarding pronouns. Can you just clarify what that rule change was?
It was just solely that the original standards were written specifically towards males in a very male-oriented way, and so we changed it to persons.
Thank you.
Any further questions of Ms. Miller? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Thank you, Stacy, for this very detailed report. I know the Standards and Rules Committee worked very hard for several months on updating the standards and rules for our BIPs. And so I want to thank you and to the entire committee for doing that. Is there a motion to adopt the amended standards and rules as presented by Stacy?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a proper motion.
This is Lena, and I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a proper second. Is there any further discussion on the motion?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to say this, that we also increased the training hours for the staff and facilitators that operate these programs from 8 minimum hours to 12 yearly.
Thank you for that clarification, Stacy. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, seeing none, Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Councilmember Bean.
Aye.
Councilmember Castillo Young.
I'm going to pass on this. I apologize for that. I just wasn't able to look at all the detail in that attachment. So please mark me present, not voting.
Okay, so you are abstaining, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Councilmember Curtis.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Dorisha Davis. Councilmember Dorisha Davis. Councilmember, I'm sorry.
She said aye.
Okay, very good. I'm sorry. I don't have my screen up. Councilmember Frog.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Councilmember Littleton.
Aye.
Councilmember McMillan.
Aye.
Councilmember Miller.
Aye.
Councilmember Neff.
Aye.
Councilmember Parker.
Aye.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Tate.
Aye.
Councilmember Vess.
Aye.
Councilmember Fox. Aye. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Based upon the vote, the motion carries. And we have already received, so we've now completed all of our committee reports, and Stacy has already given us an update about the BIPS Annual Summit as a part of her previous report of the Certification and Monitoring Committee. At this time, I would like to invite Jennifer Eskew, the CEO of Tennessee Coalition, to address the council concerning some updates regarding the DVSCC. That certainly needs our attention. And so Ms. Eskew, if you would please unmute, and we appreciate you being here and addressing us.
Thank you, and thank you for giving me some time. So 2025 has proven to be an interesting year in so many ways, and that includes me learning just recently, very recently in the last few weeks, that the coalition, of course, houses Tina Fox. She works for us, and a portion of her salary is paid through the DVSCC. That is money that has come from the Office of Criminal Justice Programs to support the administrative coordination of the council, as well as a lot of work with BIPS. She really handles the bulk of the certification work that is done for BIPS, the recertification work. She does monthly training groups with them, and of course coordinates the BIPS Annual Summit. And I had always assumed that the money for that, because DVSCC is in statute, came from a fund that is mentioned in statute, which is the Domestic Violence Community Education Fund. It says that money from that fund can be used for this work. I just learned that fund has actually never brought in more than $1,000 a year. And what has actually happened is that 30 years ago, back when all of this started, OCJP actually reserved a portion of their staff money to be of their staff budget to go towards housing a position to do that work at the coalition. And that's always worked fine. That amount stayed the same throughout since the 90s when it started. But what I have learned is that this year the OCJP staff budget received a cut that was just over that amount, the amount of money that they typically pass through to the coalition to fund that position. So that means that going forward, they will not be able to fund that position. Now, the DVSCC and continuing to coordinate and facilitate that work, that falls under the scope of work of the coalition in other areas. So we'll be able to keep doing that piece of the work without money coming from OCJP. However, most of the funding that the coalition receives is victim services funding, much of it from OVW, VAWA funding. And that funding cannot be used for anything that involves perpetrators. So while, yes, I agree that, and I think we all do, that working in batterers intervention programs are necessary and intervening with batterers is necessary in ensuring victim safety, we are not able to use any of our funding to do work on batterers intervention. So while the DVSCC is mandated to certify and to recertify BIPs, the coalition won't be able to do that. We won't be able to do that work through a position at the coalition. I am still getting more information. I'm waiting for more details from OCJP and some other things about how all of this is going to work. So I'll be communicating with the BIPS committee and with the council at large to sort of look at what that's going to mean, but it's probably going to mean we're going to need to consider a different process for certifying batterers intervention programs going forward. So again, I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of details. I'm happy to take questions. I'm not sure that I can tell you anything more than I've told you now, but that is something that we'll keep everyone posted on. And the grant that we're currently working under that does allow Tina to do that work ends at the end of this month. So it would be starting July 1. The coalition would not be able to engage in BIPS work the way that we do now.
Thank you, Jennifer. I have a couple of questions, and I know there may be some additional questions from the floor. I know that you've recently learned this information, and I know that you're in the process of trying to triage what the potential resolutions are. At this point, do we anticipate that the change is legislative or merely just budgetary through the governor's budget? Do we need to have a request for an increase in OCJP funding so that they can continue to flow, which of course couldn't occur until January 1 when the new session occurs? I think that was multiple questions in one. I'll let you respond to that, and then I have an additional comment.
Sure. So I think that there are really three paths going forward for the council to consider, possibly a fourth. But one would be for the council to look at whether or not there is capacity for the council to continue BIPS certification as we are now without coalition staff time. So that would mean without coalition staff doing the site visits, managing the paperwork. Is there capacity on the council to do that work? If it is, we could just keep everything as it is now. If there's not, we could work on trying to approach the governor's office and the legislature about increased funding to see if they would be willing to put that into the budget next year. Or we could look at a legislative change that would assign another entity to take on the BIPS certification work. The challenge there is also we're trying to think of entities that could do that, but the challenge there is that again there's not money attached to taking on that work. So we're going to be asking someone to do it without funding. So does it already go under someone else's scope. So those are sort of our options going forward, either the council to figure out a path that doesn't require the funding to certify, us requesting funding, or us asking for a legislative change that moves the responsibility to certify BIPs somewhere else.
When you use the terms asking for a legislative change to assign to another entity, you're referring to an entity other than the Tennessee Coalition.
Well, other than the council, because so there is a way in which we could, the coalition is not mandated in statute to certify BIPs. The DVSCC is, and the coalition
Right.
coordinates the DVSCC. So yes, we would need to look if the DVSCC decides that there is not capacity to do it here without funding, and if we're not able, and if we decide we don't want to go the route of requesting funding from the governor, from legislators, then we would need to go the route of seeing if there's an entity besides the council that could certify BIPs.
Okay. So given that we are already sort of woven into the coalition and the council, and the process is here, it seems like the first line of defense most likely should be seeking a specific line item in the governor's budget and maybe reaching out to Brandon Gibson and having those discussions with the governor's office. Do we have any idea about what the specific dollar amount of funding that we lost that is necessary to sort of lobby? So one, path number one appears to be through the governor's office. Two, what's the dollar amount we need? And three, is the use of the coalition's lobbyist, can that be done?
So we can use our lobbyists. That we don't fund that with any government funds. If it's decided, that would be a coalition membership issue, really, because they're the ones who fund our use of lobbyists. And we can talk through, it being in the interest of victim services providers to have certified batters intervention programs. The exact dollar amount, it's somewhere around $78,000. We can look at exactly what it would cost to maintain that going forward. But I believe that's the approximate amount.
So it would basically, in short, asking the governor to fund $78,000 additionally in his budget. That would specifically be allocated to the DVSCC. And Stacy may pop in here in just a moment as well with some information she had. So we had been under the impression, based upon information Stacy shared with me this morning, not that I'm smart enough to have this background information without her, that initially the funds that passed through, that OCJP was initially just a pass through to get the DVSCC their funds. And so am I hearing you correctly that the coalition cannot be the pass through for the DVSCC to get those funds?
I guess it could be, actually. I don't think that they have to go through OCJP. So this really has been a history lesson. I've been digging it in with the help of OCJP back to the 90s to see what happened. But yeah, so we could be the pass through for funds like that. The reason we haven't been, and it's gone through OCJP, is because it really was their funding. They're the ones who decided to offer that position, I believe.
Okay. All right. So regardless of the entity, we need to be seeking out meetings with the governor's office about a specific budgetary line item in the January budget.
If we want the
Okay.
coalition to continue using staff time to certify.
Well, if the coalition doesn't do the certification and there's no other entity that does the monitoring and certification, basically what's going to happen is there's going to be no monitoring, there's going to be no certification, and all the work that has occurred over the last 20 plus years is probably going to dwindle pretty fast. So, I guess, there's no other entity to do it. And so I guess that's part of the pitch that would be made to the governor's office is the DVSCC is the most likely entity to continue this work. Not continuing this work, I'm sure we can have probably about a half-page talking points put together about how not continuing this work would impact our citizens in this state. And we need to present that to the governor's office, and have those direct communications. Is there any other recommendations or concerns that the coalition has about this, that haven't been already utilized in our discussion?
Not for us. Like I said, I'm still trying to gather information. I'm still having conversations with OCJP. So this came as a surprise to me, I think as it would to everybody. So yeah, it's still something we're working through. But if the DVSCC is the entity in statute that is mandated to certify BIPs currently.
If we are the mandated organization to continue the certifications and monitoring, then we just need to fix the funding piece. And fortunately, that doesn't appear to be a budget buster by any means. Compared to the state's budget, it's a logistics anomaly. Is there any other questions from the floor?
Yes, I have a
Chelsea?
question. Yeah, so obviously we have, people who are court ordered to complete these batterers intervention programs. So what is the timing on this cut? I mean, are the places that are currently certified going to roll off or time out, expire their certification before this issue can be fixed? And if so, well, I won't even go into that. I mean, is that an issue? Like, are they going to end up being decertified while these people are still court ordered to complete the course?
So the funding we currently have will end June 30th. So right now we're working on gathering a list of everyone over the course of the next between July 1 and June 30th of next year. What programs are due for recertification at that point. And that's going to be part of what we're going to have to do now is make a plan for those programs and what will happen with them. And I'll be talking with DVSC as soon as we get more information. There's a possibility OCJP will fund something to kind of be a bridge. So we're trying to figure that out right now. And that I'd hope to have that information by this meeting, but I don't. But we'll be reaching out to everyone to try to get a plan together for those programs.
Okay. And obviously, I guess, Michelle, you're on this call, and Charlie. So I guess that would be like a matter of educating the judges not to revoke all these people for not completing their batterers intervention programs.
Thank you, Chelsea. That's an important point to bring up. I guess based upon Jennifer's comments that that we're going to be compiling a list of programs that could potentially be impacted certification-wise during this limbo period. Jennifer, do we have any inclination on a timeline of whether OCJP will agree to fund at least through, let's say through March 31 of next year? I mean, at that point, maybe we would know whether we were going to be in the governor's budget.
They have to let me know by the end of, sorry, I'm at our Victims Assistance Academy and I'm in a room where the lights keep going off. They have to let me know by the end of this month. So I'm hopeful that I will have information very soon, and can then develop a more informed action plan.
Is there anything that the members of the council can do to assist you in this process? And does it need to be members of the council who reach out to the governor's office in order to address this funding issue? Is it our responsibility, not the coalition's responsibility, correct?
Well, and if the council wants the coalition to continue to be the entity that does that work, then it is going to be very helpful to have people willing to make statements to that effect whenever I go to the governor's office or to legislators. That's going to have a different impact than just the coalition asking for money. So that will be helpful. And I'm sure there are other ways in which we're going to need this council's assistance. And in the next month or so, I hope to be able to communicate exactly what those ways are once we have the full picture, the full information.
Thank you, Ms. Eskew. Any further questions of Ms. Eskew?
This is Representative Littleton. I'll be glad to help in any way that I can with the governor In fact, I'm fixing to jump off, and I'll be meeting with the chair of finance in just a few minutes. So if y'all could give me some detailed information, I'd be glad to help with this.
Thank you so much. We will definitely be.
And I'm sure Senator Wally will as well.
Okay, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank
But
you,
I am going to have to
Representative
jump
Wilson.
off, but if y'all could send me some detailed stuff, I'd be glad to go into any meetings with you or to have a meeting for you or any way that I can help. If you would just let me know.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before we close the discussion on this, I'd like to propose, what normally happens in most situations is we would have a list of talking points, or at least a list of the services that, the importance of the continued monitoring and certification, sort of a list of the pitfalls that can occur if the certification and monitoring piece is ended. And I would ask members of the council if there would be anyone who would be willing to work on putting that together quickly in the next couple of weeks. I know that there's probably some members of this council who can probably, verbally spout about 10 things off the top of their head right now. And if so, I mean, I would just hit record and I could type it up myself. But I think that piece is very important. And I know Jennifer knows what those are, but to the extent that we can assist her in going ahead and spearheading that information, or being a part of any meetings, Jennifer, I know I certainly am willing to do that. And
Well, and the great thing about this council is that there are representatives from so many different areas of the system, and I know that you're all impacted differently by those BIPS programs. So even if you would just, a few bullet points in an email about how personally your work and your area would be impacted without that certification continuing, and just send those to Tina, we can compile that.
any other discussion?
Madam Chair, I think that Michelle had her hand raised after Chelsea's comment, so.
Perfect. I'm sorry, I failed to see that, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Secretary.
That's okay. No big deal. I was just going to say, if there's any information that you could send us about this, that would be helpful, because we do have a judicial conference coming up that we may share just some general information with the judges so that they're aware. But if I could have a little bit more detail, about the status, and I know you just talked about it, but it would be helpful just for, like Chelsea had said about the BIPS programs and their status, and if, what judges need to know in the meantime, while we're kind of in this little bit of a limbo after June 30th. But hopefully maybe you get the funding, for a bridge, and maybe it's just a moot point. But if you could let me know, that would be helpful, because that would be information I can share with the judicial conference in the next couple of weeks when they meet.
That would be really helpful, Michelle. I'll get that to you at the beginning of next week. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, I thank you, Jennifer. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Secretary Fox.
Yes. Councilmember Miller has her hand raised.
I apologize. I am not seeing that. And so that is, and I apologize, I'm not seeing that. I don't know if it's the way I have my screen view. So I apologize for missing any hand raises, and thanks Secretary Fox for bringing that to my attention. All right, Ms. Miller.
I will say, to address Ms. Curtis's point, as a program, this certainly is not going to stop my program from operating. I'm going to continue to still provide those services to the offenders that are referred to our programs. Those offenders that come to our programs, there are funding sources as well. So by stopping those programs, then I'm going to stop some of my funding as well. So from a program standpoint, the programs will continue. However, being a program and someone who also works on this council and is on the committee who works with these programs, it's not going to take long for the services to decline when there's no oversight. We saw that happen in COVID when we were all shut in, and we saw services statewide decrease, nationwide decrease, because of the responsibilities and the effects of COVID. And so if this does not continue, we will see some of those standards that have been raised so high for our programs to achieve, to be safe programs. We're going to see that reduce. And when you reduce some of those standards and some of that accountability, then you're reducing the ability to keep victims safe and to focus on victim safety. So, but I do think the programs will continue without their certification. They're just not going to continue at the high level of expectations and accountability and safety and integrity that Ms. Fox has worked so hard to put in place.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Am I failing to see any other hands raises, Secretary Fox? Thank you very much. If there's no further discussion from the floor about this issue, I thank Ms. Eskew for being present, and I hope that we can all work together with Tina and Michelle, Mr. Baldwin, and anyone else that would, the judges, to hopefully get a bridge in place so that we can effectively handle this. So thank you, Jennifer. Any announcements? I would then go to Secretary Fox. Do we have, we'll have announcements from Secretary Fox?
Yes, ma'am. We do have a few announcements. I would like to say also, Madam Chair, that we did not have any public comments.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So the first announcement is happy 30th year anniversary to the DVSCC. Thank you all for the work that you all have done over the years. Would also like to announce that Stacy Miller, Sarah Davis, and Regina McDevitt's terms expire June 30th. And so we want to just pause to say thank you to them. Thank you for the work that they have extended to us over the last 20 plus years. So thank you all so very much for that. We do have 3 new replacements. Deborah Lambert she's from the Mary Paris Center. Michelle Mallory Johnson, the YWCA of Nashville and Middle Tennessee, and Van Wolf of Safe Space. They will begin their terms under the coalition effective July 1st, and each of them have a 4-year term. And I believe a couple of them are on the meeting now, but we will certainly have formal introductions at the September meeting. We also want to say thanks to Katie Neff. As you all heard, she will be resigning and relocating. And so we want to thank you, Katie, for the work that you have done in this short period of time for the council as well as the AG's office. Then finally, committee members, committee chairs, please know that the deadline to submit your minutes to me is Friday, June 20th. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Fox. Our remaining meeting dates for 2025 are as follows: Friday, September 5th and Friday, December 5th. Are there any questions or comments from council members regarding anything from this morning's meeting?
I just want to say thank you all for allowing me to serve with you all these years. You are just a remarkable group of individuals that pour your heart into this work. You fight fiercely for it. I just can't just express my gratitude for being able to learn from each of you, share with each of you, and be just accounted amongst one of you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Madam Chair, you're remarkable. Tina, I just cannot thank you enough for the sisterhood that we have built through this. It is sad for me. Man, this is sad for me. So thank y'all. And Tina says I'm still on as an ally, so I will never, ever be far from you if any of you need me. But I love you all, and I thank you for everything that you've poured into this, and for those lives and those voices that we do this work for. Thank you for being here and standing there in the gaps for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. We appreciate you so much, and the work that you have done through the coalition and through the DVSCC is, you've been a rock for us. We rely heavily on you, and you're such an active participant, and so we can't thank you enough for your service. So we really appreciate your comments that you've made, and we hope that you take our comments and our appreciation for you with the same amount of love that you gave us. Okay, guys, if there are no further comments or questions, I thank you for your time this morning and the important work that we all do for Tennesseans. And we'll officially adjourn this meeting at 11:13 a.m.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.